Well, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out. And I'd love to begin our conversation before we get into your work by asking you, we're on the 4-year anniversary of this pandemic. When we look at the calendar and it says March, it's probably PTSD to a certain degree, but I'm curious, how did you survive that time period and how did it change you?
Ah, interesting. Okay. To be perfectly honest, I think I maybe had a little bit of a different experience than I hear from a lot of people,
Yeah.
um, because I wasn't as affected by it myself personally. Running a digital business, an online business, we didn't have to deal with a lot of the, restrictions and mandates and issues that a lot of other businesses dealt with. So for myself and for our clients, a lot of it was really business as usual. It wasn't that big of an effect. I will say one thing though, we were affected by the travel mandates because right before, for the last couple of years, just before 2020, we had just perfected a workshop model that was giving us a large portion of our revenue. And so it was an in-person workshop that we were delivering, usually in Austin, Texas. And so that was a big part of our business. So when those travel mandates hit, we had to pivot really quickly. And I got to tell you, we were very nervous that we wouldn't be able to replicate the high touch experience that you have in an in-person setting.
Yeah.
Now, we had a lot of experience with workshops and webinars and using Zoom for a long period of time. So we were nervous, but when we made that transition, you know that saying, with every great crisis is an incredible opportunity, something
Yeah.
like that. I think I butchered it. That's really what played out for us. We transitioned into the virtual model and started running virtual workshops. And we were able to 5x our revenue with our first workshop. We were able to serve more people, get more people in attendance, have an amazing experience, still retain that high touch element, and create more sales and revenue. And now virtual workshops have actually become a mainstay of our revenue source in our business. So kind of turned out to a great opportunity for us.
I hear this more than I don't, honestly. I mean, it doesn't take
Really?
away, yeah, it doesn't take away from the woe that, we all went through globally with the virus. But I think from a business standpoint, entrepreneurs are used to things being strange or failure being the backbone of everything. So, what a better time than to have the unknown thrown at you and you got to figure it out.
You got to pivot. I mean, that's a big part of entrepreneurship is you've got to be able to pivot, you got to be able to adjust and solve problems. That's kind of what we do.
Yeah, for sure. So there's so many things that go in to who you are, from being a digital marketing strategist, you're a consultant, creator, speaker. But I want to get to the brass tacks. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day. And one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
A couple of different ways. I might say something like, we help people become teachers, but earn a lot more money and have a lot more freedom.
Okay.
That's one way I might answer it, especially to like a third grader. But really, what I usually say is we help people monetize their knowledge and their skill sets through digital courses and coaching programs virtually online.
So what did you want to be in the third grade?
I think I was still in the jockey phase because I was a big fan of the Black Stallion movies. Like those movies just really touched me.
Yeah.
And I was still pretty small at that time, and I had a dream to be a jockey. I remember that vividly.
That's nice. I have asked this question so many times and I've never heard that, and I may never again. That's awesome. You know, I mean, there's so many people out there that are into that culture and that's what they do. And it's just, it's big. Um,
Yeah.
so let me ask you this. What were the seeds that were planted into you to become a digital marketer, to become somebody that educate and help people find their dreams? How did that happen?
That's a long story and a long journey, honestly. A lot of sidetracks. And all I knew is leaving high school, I knew I wasn't going to go the traditional career path. My sister went down that path, and I knew that corporate was not for me. What was for me, I had no idea. So I pursued theater at the time. I moved from Toronto to Vancouver to pursue theater. I dropped out of theater school, if you can believe it, and I became a snowboard bum for about 3 years there, living on a ski hill, just having a great time in my early 20s. And then I started to pick up odd jobs, bouncing around from job to job. And I fell into the network marketing industry. And if you know anything about that industry, what I like to call it is I like to call it like a gateway drug into entrepreneurship because it gets a lot of people involved in sales and gets them thinking about entrepreneurship. And it did that for me, but it definitely wasn't the model that I could be successful in. And then I started studying direct response marketing, digital marketing, affiliate marketing. And I kind of fell into it, meeting a couple of mentors, learning a little bit about Google Ads and affiliate marketing. I had a breakthrough back in 2006, where I made some good money in affiliate marketing. And then I met a couple of partners. I had an idea. I'm a creator. I have lots of different ideas. I met a developer. I said, "Hey, I've got this idea. Can you build it?" He said, "Sure, no problem." And we launched this company in 2008. And then that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial career.
So, who's been a hero for you, a consistent inspiration in your life?
Wow, so many. Oh my God. Um, Man, everybody from like virtual mentors like Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins, who I spent a lot of time listening and kind of reprogramming my mind because I grew up in a, blue collar immigrant family. My dad taught me that money was a struggle, easy come, easy go. So I really didn't have any mentors or role models in the business space, in the success space. And I had a lot of reprogramming to do with my brain. So some of those early mentors really stand out. And honestly, right now, there's so many entrepreneurs that I'm connected to that are all inspirations and heroes for me in different ways, with the things that they've overcome, the successes that they've had. Guys like Mike Dillard, like Russell Brunson. There's just so many to name. And on that note as well, some of our clients are heroes to me because they come to us sometimes in positions where they want to change their life around. They want to do something completely different. They have got a lot of obstacles and challenges that they've overcome in their lives, and they still have this growth mindset of wanting to create something better for themselves. And that's incredibly inspirational.
So, let's whittle this list down. If you can meet one person alive on the planet that you find inspirational, who would it be?
I got to say right now, Elon Musk.
That's the number one answer.
And you know what? I never was a fan of him, and I still don't like his Cybertruck. Um, and I don't agree with all of his perspectives and all that kind of stuff. But I love the fact that he's a man who can stand up for what he believes in, and he doesn't take shit from people.
Yeah. Certainly that is his backbone for sure. And I think the thing about Elon is we're too close to it now. So I got to tell you, over the pandemic, you know, everybody was out walking and having bonfires at night, and figuring out what we were going to do. It was probably around, I would say April or May, and we had a bonfire outside. It was getting warm. And all of a sudden, I see this big constellation of lights come over me. And I'm like, I'm finally getting to see the UFO. And I'm
I
like
remember
looking
that.
up, right? And I'm
Yeah.
looking up and it's SpaceX. And it was very weird because it's this huge trail of stars. And then they all just kind of fan out and then they all come back together as they go to the horizon and they just disappear one by one and it's gone. It's the weirdest thing in the world. And I had no idea until we Googled it, like, what is this? And then it was SpaceX. So those little things there that he's a part of, I mean, it's like PayPal's cute, all these other little ventures, right? But when you're actually like, all right, we're colonizing Mars, you're dealing with a different level of intellect. You're dealing with a different level of energy in a human.
Absolutely. And I mean, you can't argue on the fact that he is on the forefront of technology and on the forefront of our future in many different ways. I mean, now with Neuralink as well, I've got my own thoughts and opinions and fears and concerns about that. And at the same time, man, this is the kind of technology that we knew was coming at some point, and here we are living it.
The one thing I talk to AI people all the time, and they're very enthusiastic, trying to gauge that idea of whether it can go bad or however.
Yeah.
I've seen him on Rogan a couple times, and when AI comes up, he's afraid. And if
Yeah.
Elon Musk is afraid, he's got a beat on things that's different than others. And I don't want to spook anybody. I'm not bringing that up, but that is the one of the very few things that I've seen him just be like, trying not to say much, but just, I think he knows at the end of the day that whenever human beings meddle too much, things happen.
That's where my biggest fear is for sure. Because I like to live in the philosophy of, well, it's a tool. and tools can be used for good and tools can be used for evil. But this tool is unlike any other tool that's ever been created by mankind. So yeah, it definitely gives some rise to some fear and hesitation, that's for
Yeah.
sure. And I'm a big AI proponent as well. We use AI heavily. We teach AI. It is a great tool for business owners, and at the same time, there's definitely some concerns. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So you have to dispense good advice to your clientele. What's the best advice that you've ever gotten?
Mm. Make decisions from your future self. Make decisions from who you want to be and not who you are right now. That was an advice that was given to me many years ago by one of my first mentors. And I had a big decision to make as far as investing some money in an opportunity in a business at that time. And I was very nervous about it. I was not in a very healthy financial position at the time. And this was the advice that he gave to me. He said, Norbert, you know what? I think you've been making decisions from where you're at for too long in your life. What if you try something different? What if you imagine yourself in the future, like who you would actually be in the future? You know, that concept be, do, have. In order to have the things you want in the future, you have to actually be the person first to do the things you need to do to have the things that you want to have. And he said, imagine yourself in the future. Who are you being? What is the emotion that you feel? And from that place, make this decision. And that was a powerful shift for me. And it's something that I've used with my own clients. And it shifts people's perspective because it puts you into a place of possibility instead of sometimes a place of fear and anxiety and anxiousness where we typically are in the, in our day-to-day stresses.
It's interesting. I talked to somebody that worked for Tony Robbins, and he was telling me a story one day about how he asked them to go somewhere with him, and they ended up going to see a movie. And a guy ran up to Tony Robbins before the movie and was like, I am so inspired. I want to be just like you. I want to be where you're at. And I guess Tony looked at him and said, Whenever you think that time happens, I'm going to be this far ahead of you because I'm not going to stop. And it was interesting just the way he explained it, and just like you talking about the future. It's like that's the hallmark of him, though. It's that idea of evolution. You never
Yeah.
stop. You're always going. So no matter who might want to be him, they're never going to be, because he's always going to be, you know,
Yeah.
pushing it further.
Yeah. Constant change, constant growth. So that's the one thing that we can only be certain of is constant change, like no
Yeah,
matter what, right? And it scares us. I think for most people, it makes us a little nervous and creates anxiety of the unknown, right? What could potentially happen. But that's the only way that we grow is when we're tested this way through challenges.
for sure. So let me ask you this. What is the motivation for you every day to wake up, to do the work to help your clients, but to also evolve as a human being yourself?
I love what I do. I love seeing the transformation and change in people. I get to see the best in people, which is a natural quality that I have in myself, which sometimes can be a drawback because when you believe in the best of people, they can sometimes walk all over you. But I love looking at the best of people. I love looking at the greatness of people. I love working with my clients and seeing how they're unable to see the greatness that I see in them and being able to slowly pull that out, draw that out for them so that they can stand and own that value that they possess themselves and bring themselves out into the market. Our clients have to market themselves as coaches, as digital course creators. They have to market themselves and their expertise, which is a huge challenge for a lot of people because what I found is that most people really undervalue their greatness. And so it's always inspiring and incredibly motivating to continue to see people grow and evolve, like you said.
So you've mentioned your clients a couple times in the context of being heroes. Of all of the clients that you've had, what's one of your favorite success stories?
Ah, man, this is a gentleman, a young guy that we worked with many years ago. And sometimes you have a client and you have a hard time seeing them have success. He had a very thick accent. He wasn't the sharpest tool in the box. And we really had our doubts about whether or not he was going to be able to promote himself online, and create video and all that kind of stuff. And we did this 30-day video challenge. And again, really thick accent, a little bit difficult to understand. And he was really struggling to create any results in his business. And we had this 30-day video challenge where we had them create videos every single day. And he did that. And the transformation that I saw in him, in his confidence, in the way he showed up, in his ability to communicate from day one to day 30 was out of this world incredible. And I met him several years later, and he got himself into the crypto space. And I follow him a little bit on social media now as well. And the transformation from who this young man was to actually the leader that he had become in just a few short years um, just proved to me that anyone can do this. Like anyone, if they have the desire, if they have the courage, and if they have the tenacity to just stick with it long enough, over time they can develop the skills necessary to put themselves out there and to create the success that they desire.
So if you have a dream tonight, run into the 20-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your life up to this point, what advice would you dispense on that young version of you?
Oh God. Focus, man. Focus. Focus.
Yeah.
I, I'm I'm a creator. I believe I've got some kind of ADHD or something like that. I mean, I have 1,000 different ideas all the time, and still to this day, that's one of my biggest disciplines is trying to focus on a project. I get really excited about projects. I like to pass them off and then move on to other projects. And so I was like that in my early 20s as well. Lots of different things captured my interest, and I kind of bounced around all over the place. So yeah, if I would have focused sooner, I think I would have had a lot more success sooner, but that's the journey.
Yeah, it certainly is. So of all of the things that you've done in your life so far, what are you the proudest of?
Uh, I, oh my God, there's so many things. Honestly, I have a lot of gratitude in my life and a lot of blessings. My wife, my relationship is amazing because I went through a divorce, and instead of having that divorce turn me into a spiteful, bitter man who was angry at my ex, I took that as a learning lesson and got to work on myself and figured out what was it that I screwed up in that relationship. And not to say that she wasn't at fault at all as well. It's a relationship. There's a two-way street. But I turned the focus on myself and I tried to figure out how was I showing up in a relationship and how could I be a better man to a future wife. And this relationship that I have now, going on 11 years, is a complete opposite to the relationship I had before. I definitely wasn't ready for a marriage earlier on. And I can see that if you really focus on yourself and focus on where you can improve, you can become a better person, a better father, a better man, a better business owner. That's where the change starts.
Great answer. So let me ask you this. You've talked about the future, but I want to pose this to you. Let's say we get off this call, time machine pulls up in front of your house. You can go at any point in history and see an event with your own eyes. Are you going to go backwards or do you want to go forwards? What would you want to see?
That is a crazy question. I have never thought about that, really. Oh, I'm so tempted. I'm too curious about the future, to be
But I
perfectly
figured that's why I
honest.
posed it that way.
Yeah, I'm too curious about the future. I mean, there's so many historical events that I would love to have been a witness to or have been around and experienced, but I have to say that the curiosity of the future draws me too much. So, I'd have to pull myself not even that far, uh 50, 100 years into the future, just to see where we're at and see if we're still around.
Man, I mean, just the amount of time that's elapsed in the last 100 years of the technological leaps, I can't even imagine what's going to happen. I mean, we've already superseded the Jetsons,
Yeah,
you know?
it's going
So
to be wild.
it is. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm somebody who sees the best in people. I'm somebody who wants the best for people, and I do not give up. Tenacity is my middle name.
I love it. So if anyone wants to hire you, reach out, learn more about what you do, anything in your world, where do they go? The good business.
Yeah, my personal website is norbertonline.com. I've got that tricky name, Orlewicz, so I had to create a simpler domain name. So it's norbertonline.com. And then our company is digitalmentors.com.
Okay, Norbert, this has been wonderful. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. Thank you for your time today. Best of luck with everything.
Great to connect with you, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.